So if you watched my last video, you would know that I finally came back to skyblock for the first time in a year. I did play a little bit in between that, but that was mainly just for videos, so I don't know anything that's going on and anything to do with the meta. But the one thing I do know about skyblock is that the thing that runs this game is money. Most likely what I'm going to try and do is just get my skyblock level up because I haven't really had something to grind for. But one thing I know about skyblock levels is that you can get a ton of levels by just having money and buying stuff. So obviously I'm going to need money for that. Well, that leaves us with the question, how am I going to make money? Well, my thinking is that I just try something old because I don't know anything about the new metas and it's going to take a little bit of time for me to get adjusted. So might as well just try something old and see how it works. And that's what I did, and it definitely worked out. But before we get into it, make sure to follow my Twitch because I'm going to be streaming there and I made a new account. So if you were already followed, make sure to follow this one. And if you're watching this on the same day that I was uploaded or the same weekend, there is a Black Friday sale going on the hypixel store. So if you're going to buy anything, make sure to use code MASH in the hypixel store for 5% off and to support me. And that's basically it, so let's just get into it. So as I said earlier, I don't really know much about everything that's changed with skyblock. As you can see, I'm only level 237, which as of now is pretty unimpressive from what I understand. I think I can literally go into a lobby right now and find someone that's higher level than me. So right here, random lobby, this guy's level 286, which is way higher than me. So before, when I was making videos and I was in, I guess you could say, my prime of skyblock, I was by far one of the best players in the game. Well, not the best, but I was way better in comparison than I am now. I've fallen really behind. So right now, I just want to be able to get myself back to where I was, or at least just a little bit better at the game and understanding what's going on. So like I said in the intro, the first thing I'm going to do about that is just make some money. But the only thing is, I don't really have that many money making methods. The last way I really made money, if I can remember correctly, was probably just taking money from contraband, or it was just money I saved up from minions and stuff like that. I didn't really have that many money making methods because I didn't really need to, and I was mostly focusing on just doing stuff for videos, and that's it. So I didn't really actively grind money in a while. But the one thing I do remember is that before I had YouTube rank and before I even made that many skyblock videos, I was doing something to get money, and that was called zealot farming. So back in the day, around 4 to 3 years ago, I used to go into the end, grab myself an Y set just like this, where it's like fully maxed out. Well, not even that much, but decently maxed out. And then just grab myself any sword that could do 13k, and I would just smash all these zealots in the end. Obviously, this is not going to work because it's not really a damage sword, but it doesn't even matter anyways because now you can just right click with the Hyperion. And that's basically what I'm going to do. And before you guys freak out and yell in the comments that I'm not doing it right, I do know that there is this Zealot Bruiser hideout. I did look online a little bit before I just started grinding, and I did realize that I can grind here. With this, I also went ahead and I went to this Dragon Ritualist guy and made sure to go to the Essence shop and max out my Z-Luck. I also didn't have an Enderman pet, but now I do. So I have a legendary Enderman. It's not level 100, but I think I got this for a pretty good deal. I got it a while ago, but it's level 89 and it's going to increase my luck. I also took a quick look at the wiki to see how it actually works for zealots now. And from what I understand, the only thing that are going to bring it up that I can easily achieve right now is by having my zeal luck at max and making sure I have a legendary Enderman pet. Everything else doesn't really help. It's like dry streak stuff and stuff for if you hit it twice, which is mainly for noobs. So I didn't really have to worry about anything else. The only other thing I could have really done was get my pet up to max level, which I'm gonna do anyways if I grind this enough, and get Enderman Slayer 9 or 8, where you get a buff of like plus 15%, which is actually pretty good. But I didn't want to do that right now. Eventually, I'll get it done, I think. But I didn't really feel like doing that right now. So I just went ahead with the stuff I had. And yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. So without further ado, I went into a 1 hour grind, and this was the results. So those were the results from my first 1 hour of grinding. I did end up doing another one, but we'll talk about that later. So the results I got from that are, first, you can see in my purse, I have about 130k, and that's from Scavenger. There is a lot more to be had, but you'll understand quickly why I don't have that much. And if we open this chest, this is what I got. I know it's not the best, but it was pretty decent. I got about 17 eyes, if I'm not stupid, and 15 hyper catalysts. Of course, I didn't actually get hyper catalyst, and that's where all my money went. I ended up using it to craft all my crystal fragments into catalysts, and if I couldn't actually get enough to make hyper catalyst, I bought more crystal fragments with my thing and turned those into catalysts, and then made more hyper catalysts. That's the reason I have 15 and not 16, because I had to sell one to be able to fund it to make all of these hyper catalysts. In other words, just think I just bought all these hyper catalysts. I made all of these with my money. So if we take all of this and we put in my inventory, when we go to the bazaar, we get an insta sell of 15.8 mil plus this 130k, which is about 16 mil an hour. I haven't played skyblock, as I said earlier, in a pretty long time, but 16 mil per hour does not seem that bad to me. Of course, I did have a pretty decent grinding set because I have a Hyperion, which a lot of players don't, because I know this thing is still worth a decent amount of coins. But otherwise, I had a mostly normal set. I had a completely normal, just necrotic, one piece recomped, but otherwise, I didn't really ever run out of mana. If I spammed my Hyperion a lot, yes, I did get to maybe like really low amounts of mana or even none, but as long as I kind of like kept it like in a good rhythm where I used mostly my AOTV and then a mix with the Hyperion just every once in a while when I actually had to get kills, I was pretty comfortable without losing mana. So I don't think I need to go crazy on my setup, even though there is a ton I can still do. I can still recom all of these pieces. I can still put Smarty Pants over here. I can still put Wisdom 5 on all the pieces. I can still put an extra gemstone slot in all of these things. If I do all of that, I'll have by far enough mana. But I don't even think that's really needed unless I really like this money making method. One thing I also did was I didn't have the best lobby at first. But because I realized that most of the guys there did not have the best stuff, I was able to basically just force them out of the lobby by being better than them at grinding. But by around the midpoint of my grinding session, I had already forced like everybody out of the lobby, and it was only me grinding. Sadly though, around 2/3 into the grind, I did end up losing the lobby kind of badly, so I had to switch lobbies for a bit. And that did eat up into my time, and I didn't ever get a lobby as good as my first one. But otherwise, I think it was like a pretty good grind, and I got about 4,400-ish kills on that grind, and I think it was pretty successful to be getting around 16 mil. But as I said earlier, this is not the only 1 hour grind I did. I did another one just to make sure everything was like fair and I just didn't get super lucky, and also to see if I got like a really good lobby, how it would be. And I did this one off camera, but this is all the stuff I got, and let me tell you, it was more successful for sure. And you can see that clearly because I got, I think, around 25 eyes, and I got a little bit of drag fragments because there was just a drag that was in the lobby when I was swapping in, and so I just did a bit of damage. And then I bought a little bit of stuff to make hypercatalysts. One thing to also mention is I had around 167k from the scavenger and after buying all the hypercatalysts, so that also added up a little bit into my profits, but most of it was mainly from just getting lucky with the eyes. So if we check this on Bazaar instead, we'll see that I made around 22 mil or 22.3 mil plus this 167, and this is only on an insta sell. So that's around, I'd say, 22.5 mil, which is definitely very good. I do think I may have like fudded a little bit of extra time because I did pause the timer whenever I was swapping lobbies, but otherwise it was pretty much an equal amount of grinding that was like actively just grinding in lobbies. I also ended up getting around 5,000 kills, so I did grind more for sure, or was more efficient with my grinding, but it is possible to get around this many kills. I wouldn't say it's like very probable, but it is possible. I would mostly look at my first grinding session as the more favorable or like common thing to happen, but I still think like if you're lucky, it's possible to get something like this. One thing I do have to address though is people crying about how unlucky they are. Like, I'm so unlucky, bro. I do 20,000 kills and I haven't got one eye. Trust me, I'm not lying. Let me give you a quick lesson in just some very simple statistics to tell you why this is still profitable. Okay, so right now we're just on the Google calculator, and this decimal is the chance that I have to get a summoning eye from every Z-Lot bruiser that I kill. So, according to statistics, if we multiply this by the amount I killed, which was 4,434 in that first 1 hour, it will give us the expected value of eyes we should get. So if you multiply this, we get about 15.55 or around 16 eyes in 1 hour. If we go here and we look how many eyes we got almost exactly that. We got 17 eyes. So that makes sense. But like I said earlier, I know some people are going to cry about how they only get 2 eyes an hour somehow, even though they're getting 4,000 kills. Let me explain why this is very unlikely. So right now I'm on a binomial probability calculator, and this lets us calculate the chance that we actually get the expected value of eyes. So the first thing we need is the probability that we actually get an eye. So let's just paste that in. Then the number of trials or the number of Endermen killed. So that's like 4434 as we got from the last thing. And then the number of successes, which in other words, the number of eyes. So we know that to just be 16. If we hit calculate, we just need to look at the last number. Ignore everything else here. If we look at the last number, it's 0.488 or 48%. So that's the chance. But let's look at 15 because it was 15.5 as the expected value. So let's just go one down to 15 instead. And even if we go down to 15, the expected value of getting 15 or more eyes is only 0.59 or 60%. So when you go from this video and don't get 16 eyes, you're not crazy unlucky. You're actually normal luck because it's more common to get less than 16 eyes than actually get more or equal to 16 eyes. So if you're not getting 16 eyes an hour, please don't complain because you only have a 48% chance of that happening. So you actually have more likeliness of getting less than 16 eyes. If you're still confused as to why it's like this, let me give you an explanation. Instead of thinking of it as summoning eyes, let's look at it as heads or tails. So if we have heads, we have a 50% chance of getting that. And if you get tails, we have a 50% chance of getting that. The thing is, this doesn't mean if I do 2 flips of a coin that I'm going to get 1 heads and 1 tails. If we did the expected value calculation of that, which is 0.5 times 2, that would get us 1 of each. But obviously, you know, if you just flipped a coin 2 times, there's a chance that you just get the same thing like 2 tails or 2 heads as a possibility. So what the binomial calculator does is it actually calculates how likely you are to get the amount that you're expected. Editor Mash here, I basically go on a huge yap session, but basically what I was trying to say is that the easiest way of thinking of this calculator is by thinking on multiplying the chance you fail. So in terms of a coin flip, if you go 4 coin flips and only get 1 heads, the chances of that happening is just 0.5 to the power of 4 multiplied by 4. The reason there's the multiplied by 4 is because we have to add up all the different combinations of getting 1 heads. Meaning like getting heads as the first one, then getting heads as the second one, then getting heads as the third one, and getting heads as the fourth one. So for like getting heads as the first one, that would be heads, tails, tails, tails. But if you got it as the second one, it would be tails, heads, tails, tails. And then so on and so forth. And because it's 4 different ways of doing that, you have to multiply the thing by 4. Okay, I was gonna end the video there, but I did want to come clean because I did kind of lie about the statistics. You're probably not gonna get 69s. You're probably gonna get even more. The reason why is because Hypixel implemented a dry streak bonus that really increases your chances if you actually go on a dry streak. In the normal world, no one needs dry streak bonuses because eventually it evens out to the right value. But kids on skyblock, as I said earlier, are gonna cry when they don't get their thing immediately at the amount of kills that it says. So if it says 380, if they don't get at 380, they start crying, but they don't question it when they get a Zealot or something at like 10 kills. That's normal. But when they get it at 400, that's irregular. So to appease these little kids, what Hypixel decided to do was add this dry streak bonus. So depending on how many kills you go over, you get a bonus from double to almost 4 times the chance just because you're in a dry streak. And this ends up making it so your likeliness is even better than the expected value. So even with my entire thing about you having around a 50% chance or a 48% chance of getting less than 16, you probably have an even better chance of getting, or less chance of getting less than 16. I don't know exactly how to calculate it. I'd probably have to ask someone who knows more about statistics than me about how to calculate that stuff. But you definitely are going to be a little bit luckier than your expected value. That's probably going to be it for the video. I know it wasn't that content heavy, but I'm just getting back into it, and I mainly needed people to know that I have a new Twitch channel so I can start streaming there and making content way more often and way more comfortably, because I just like streaming and talking to people when I play skyblock instead of just having to play by myself. So thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.